morning. It is January 11th,
It is.
2K13. It is, right?
Yes, it is.
And it's a Friday morning. Good morning to you there. This is WGTV Today, Wayne Goldsboro Television Today. I'm Wayne Alley.
And I'm Kim Best. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Well, Kim, it's the end of this week, and I'm still trying to get past the holidays. You know, they just kind of, and I'm not complaining.
Oh no, they were wonderful, but it is difficult to get back into a routine and back to your normal schedule, and you've had a few days off, and you can sort of relax and do things the way you want to do them for a day or two.
Right, and now here we are back to work, and some people only worked about 3 or 4 days last week, and then this week still trying to get back into the routine. So here we go. Anyway, we got a great program today. What's
yes, we do. Today we have part one of the Battle of Goldsboro Bridge, the reenactment.
Oh wow.
And I know you've been before, and I have too, and that is absolutely wonderful. And if you've never had the opportunity to see it firsthand, then you'll love the video of it, because it is, you really feel like you're there. You feel like you've gone back in time.
You do. These reenactors go to great pains in being accurate in what they're wearing, in their weapons, and in their enactment. And in fact, they go out to Goldsboro Bridge, as the reenactors do at all of the battlefields they go to. And they actually live there in period dress. They cook in the same way they did 200 or 100 years ago, 150 years ago. And it's very interesting. It's fascinating. It
is. And, you know, a few of the years of when I've gone out there, they've had vendors that are there that are reenacting things that are going on under different tents. And they're selling some things from that period, or replicas of things in that period. But it's just such an interesting thing to stand back and watch. You really do feel like you're in that period of time.
It really is. But what's really weird,
and that's right here in Goldsboro.
It is here in Goldsboro. What's really odd, though, is when you're driving through there and you you see
all the smoke from
the smoke and everything, and on one side of the road, and then on the other side of the road are all the SUVs and the cars, you know, and the sports cars, and guys getting out of these SUVs in 1860 clothing. So it's a little odd, but anyway, it's a lot of fun.
We hope you enjoy it today.
Yeah, anyway, part one is today, and you will enjoy that.
That's right. And then after that, we also have City Manager Scott Stevens will be here, and he's giving our our monthly, now we're doing it monthly, a city update and state of the city. So you'll hear what is happening short term right here in the city of Goldsboro.
All right, outstanding. All right, January 11th. Oh my goodness, today is International Thank You Day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. A time to thank someone who did something nice for you.
That's always nice to do.
That is nice. It is nice. You know, and too often people don't recognize when somebody does something nice for them. They don't realize it or even recognize it. And it's time to say thank you.
It certainly is.
Thank you. Today is also National Step in a Puddle and Make a Splash. It says Splash a Friend Day, but that would not be a nice thing to do.
And they certainly wouldn't thank you for it.
So, National Step in a Puddle and Make a Splash Day. It sounds like a day for folks with too many friends. It does. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, today is also Life Insurance Day.
Okay.
Life Insurance Day, marking the incorporation of America's first life insurance company in Philadelphia this day, 1759. Long time ago.
Yes.
Today is also two of my favorite comedians, Laurel and Hardy.
Yes.
Stan Laurel, Oliver Hardy, from way back when, the early 20th century. Laurel and Hardy had a theme song called The Cuckoo Dance.
Okay.
And if you ever have seen a Laurel and Hardy movie, you heard the Cuckoo Dance theme song. And this is the day Cuckoo Dancing Week begins today. Remembering Laurel and Hardy, whose theme song was the Dancing Cuckoos. Anyway,
and we'll just go with that.
I'm not going to hum it. I'm not going to sing it. Just go with that, okay? Maybe we'll have that on sometime. All right.
We'll just go with that.
All right.
Would you like to cut your grocery bill in half, Wayne? I know I certainly would.
Are you kidding? I'd love to cut my grocery bill in half.
Well, you can attend this seminar and learn some tips on how to cut your grocery bill in half.
Really?
On Saturday, January the 26th, at Wayne County Public Library. They are hosting a smart spending workshop. It says call the Children's Department for more information about this program. The number is 919-735-1824, extension 2. The workshop is from 1:30 until 3:30. Remember, on January 26th at Wayne County Public Library. Smart spending.
Smart spending.
I should be there. That would be nice.
Anything to help.
I can't imagine what kind of tips they're going to give us, but
Well, here lately with the prices of everything going up.
True.
And you know, a lot of this was brought on, well, there's several reasons, but a lot of it is because of the price of moving things across the country.
Right.
The price of fuel and transporting foods and such as that. Everything's gone up a lot because of the price of fuels.
Absolutely.
So anything
well, we'll hear what they've got to
cut
say,
our
and we'll try to
prices.
pass some of those tips on after the workshop if you weren't able to attend.
There you go.
Yeah.
Got a question for you.
All right.
Imagine retirement.
Yes.
Okay, you retire, and now you have everything that you plan, that you want to do. You and Michael say, well, we're going to retire, and we're going to live in, don't answer,
I won't answer.
somewhere besides the U.S.
Oh, besides the U.S. Okay.
If you could retire to any country, anywhere in the world, where would it
wow.
be?
Am I supposed to answer that right now?
No, let me help
Okay.
with that. Ecuador.
Tell me why Ecuador.
Ecuador, because it seems that most people who retire outside the U.S. retire to either Ecuador or a similar nation. Story from Reuters this morning, with the low cost of living, balmy climate, and inexpensive property. Ecuador has been ranked the top foreign retirement destination for North Americans for the 5th year in a row.
I would not have guessed Ecuador.
Nor I, but I have been through there, and it's a beautiful country. But in fact, we have someone here living in Goldsboro, and I'm trying to remember, and I've just
Don't blame.
escapes me right now. But anyway, a South American nation of Ecuador, bordered by Colombia and Peru, scoring the highest marks in international living in internationalliving.com's annual ranking of the best places to retire, with monthly estimated living expenses ranging anywhere from $900 to $1,400 a month. Ecuador passed Panama, Malaysia, Mexico, and Costa Rica. And
Costa Rica is the one that I know several people that have retired there.
Exactly.
And another one is Thailand.
Thailand. Well,
Because
Thailand's on the list.
Yes, because you can purchase property so inexpensively, you can live like a king.
Exactly.
Whereas, you know,
Yeah.
in the States, you're living, you know, like a moderate person, but there you can live like a king.
That's right. But the top 5, again, is Ecuador, then Panama, Malaysia, Mexico, and Costa Rica. And I think Thailand is at like number 9 or 10.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
it's an interesting list.
Ecuador number 1. Well,
Ecuador
we'll
number-
reevaluate next year and see if they stayed number 1 on the
Sure.
list.
So you can go to internationalliving.com to get a complete list and reasons. If you're close to retirement or considering retirement, you may want to move and live somewhere else.
Or considering leaving the States, because that's a pretty large move.
That's a big move, all
Yeah,
right.
not
That's a
like
big
moving
move.
down to, you know, Charleston or somewhere,
No.
or Florida.
Not
A little different ball game.
A little different, yeah.
Yeah. So, Wayne, I wanted to remind everyone about the city council meetings that are coming up. The
Okay.
next one will be
Good.
on Tuesday, January 22nd.
Okay.
And Tuesday is not our regular scheduled day, but it's because we're closed on Monday for the holiday, the Martin Luther King holiday.
Right.
So it'll be on Tuesday, January the 22nd. 5 o'clock is work session. Of course, 7 o'clock is our formal meeting in City Hall.
And county commissioners meet the 1st and 3rd Tuesday of each month, but this 1st and 3rd, the 1st of this month was on New Year's Day, so they moved it to the 8th, and now our next meeting will be on the 22nd as well. The 22nd, that morning, in fact, the commissioners will meet in chambers at 8 o'clock for the briefing, and then at 9 o'clock for the regular meeting, and then on to the city council
That's
meeting
right,
that
so
night.
you have both meetings.
Both meetings on that day, on the 22nd, so
That's
make plans
exactly
on
right.
January 22nd to be there.
That's right. And
All
I believe up next, Wayne, we have part 1 of the Battle of Goldsboro Bridge, so stay tuned. I think you'll enjoy.
headed down the river, where electrocution magnified and shot me through the liver, where the food turned first and the horse went off, sure we thought I'd die. Shut my eyes to hold my breath, Susanna, don't you cry.
My name is Russell Tribe. I am the Sergeant Major for the 4th Regiment, North Carolina. My home company is the company over my shoulder here, which is the 1st and the 11th North Carolina. My job as Sergeant Major primarily is to see to the training and organization of the battalion. Over my shoulder you see an individual company that is doing their morning drill. They are going through the inspection arms process, controlling of the weapon, manual of arms is what it's called, and they are preparing themselves for battalion drill. As Sergeant Major, I will take the battalion, form them all together with all the companies together, and then I will go through a bigger process of drill, moving the entire battalion so that they are proficient in the movements and organization of a battalion, where we go from a battalion front to a column of march, to a column of companies, which is in the formation you see behind me right now with fixed bayonets. They'll go into that formation. They'll be stacked one behind the other. This is so that they can quickly deploy into a battle line. I will facilitate this and go through it a number of times, both from the left and from the right. Then we'll go into formations of march and battle, which the colonel will typically use throughout the day. This is so that when it's needed on the battlefield, they'll do it quickly, quietly, and efficiently.
My files right.
My name is Dan Clendaniel and I live in Manassas, Virginia, and I'm here today because my ancestors fought in this battle for the Union. My great-grandfather John Clendaniel was in the 85th Pennsylvania with his brother Stephen, and I've been researching my family history for the last 2 years, and I had to be here for this. The 85th fought in Kinston, and then they came here on the Goldsboro expedition, and this battle was really the first opportunity they had to get their reputation back. They had fought at Seven Pines in around Richmond in May and June of 1862, and they were in the front lines of that battle when the Confederates attacked. And after 3 hours of holding them off by themselves, they retreated. The Union generals behind them saw them retreating and basically told the boss, General McClellan, that they had retreated in a cowardly manner. And McClellan repeated this lie to the press, and he banished them to White House Landing, Virginia, and then to Suffolk, Virginia, while the 7 days battle was taking place and while Second Manassas was taking place. So when they came to the Goldsboro expedition in December of 1862, it was really the first chance they had to try to get their reputation back, which they were able to do. They fought very well here. They were really a key element in the assault on Kinston, and after this, they were able to go to Charleston and take part in the siege of Charleston. But this is a really significant event. This is also the first time I've had a chance to visit a battlefield where they fought together, and I'm sure they were side by side, and it just means a lot for me to be here today.
My name is Bill Potts. I'm Colonel for the 1st North Carolina Battalion, 4th Regiment AMV. I'm Captain with the 1st North Carolina Volunteers, 11th Regiment North Carolina Troops. I've been doing reenactments now for approximately 44 years. I got interested in history because of my 8th grade history teacher, Miss Belch. she sparked an interest in me in North Carolina history that just never went away. I coached Little League through the recreation departments for 12 years, and I always wore a CS belt buckle. And we got a new recreation director, and I went in to see him one day, and he asked me, was I north-south? I thought he was talking about a football conference. So he introduced me to reenactments, and it was like fly fishing. I bit the hook, swallowed it, and I've been doing it ever since then. It's just a great period in history that I enjoy doing because I had ancestors that fought in this war. It's something that I don't want people to forget the sacrifice that these guys made. They gave everything they had for what they believed in. And this was the same way on the federal side too. The federal soldier was giving everything that he had for what he believed in. So, one was fighting for a way of life, the other one was to preserve the Union. As I said, it's just a great hobby that you can come out, get a chance to recreate battles, because you can read them in history books and all, and things like this, and you don't get the same feel as you do as when we come out here and have a chance to reenact it. We have approximately 500 guys in our battalion. We have medical staff that are set up now, cavalry detachment, artillery. The musicians are getting ready to incorporate into a fife and drum corps with us. So when we go on the field, we have a little element of everything that was carried on at this time by our soldiers during this period.
I portray a corporal in Company D of the 27th North Carolina Troops, a unit that was originally from this area locally. We're out here at the 150th anniversary of the Battle of Goldsboro Bridge. And I'm out here portraying a Confederate soldier that fought at the battle. I'm wearing a uniform typical of Confederate soldiers during 1862. Wearing the slouch hat, which was probably one of the most distinguishing parts of a Confederate soldier's uniform. You could tell them apart from any other soldier by their slouch hat. I've got all my equipment to make my musket fire, my cap box, my roller buckle belt, bayonet scabbard. All my clothing that you see was issued to me by the state of North Carolina. My buttons are what's called the North Carolina Sunburst button. And each state had its own buttons that they would issue to its troops. North Carolina had several different styles, and one of the most common ones that you see is this Sunburst button.
I've been reenacting since 1995. My brother and sister-in-law live at Pine Level. They invited me down to do the reenactment, so I decided to stay down here till Christmas. With the Fremont Pathfinder Civil War reenactment, we fall in with the 1st Nebraska Volunteers. Nebraska was a territory when the Civil War started, but they did send volunteers to the Civil War. I'm wearing a cavalry uniform. I use a Henry repeating rifle. People that had them bought them themselves because the government wouldn't buy them because they cost more money than the musket. They claim you could load it on Sunday and shoot it all week.
The 9th New Jersey is a living history organization that consists of members from Virginia and North Carolina, mainly North Carolinians in the eastern part of the state. We represent the 9th New Jersey as that was an original regiment that fought here in eastern North Carolina and also here at the Battle of Goldsboro Bridge. My enlisted uniform is of a sergeant with the chevrons and the stripes on the pants. This is called a frock coat, also known as a dress coat for the Union Army. Union soldiers were issued either a dress coat or a 4-button fatigue blouse, and you'll see both out here today. The forage cap was the predominant hat used by Union troops in eastern North Carolina with the company letter and the regimental number. The officer's uniform, this is a sack coat, a very popular and comfortable type of officer's uniform. His rank is denoted by his shoulder straps. Light blue means infantry, 1 bar means first lieutenant, and he also has the bugle for the infantry on his hat with a 9 in the center representing the 9th New Jersey.
in the Civil War, the drum and the fife both played very key parts in the war, especially early on. The drum was used not only as tempo to the men marching, but it was also used as a morale with the fife. Drums, you see, are all rope tension drums. Soldier's day actually starts by the drum. They can fire by the drum, do any call by the drum, breakfast, dinner, anything and everything. The fife accompanies the drum, where you get the actual songs. As right now, we're representing a federal unit. This is the uniform they would be wearing, such as the sack coat and the sky blue pants, or such as myself, the frock coat with the sky blue trim to represent that I'm a musician.
My name's Tom Flood, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the fife, first of all. So the fife is an ancient instrument. It's basically a hollow, burnished tube of wood and a cork plug in one end. There's 6 finger holes in the fife and then a blowhole. There's no valves in here, which makes it different from a flute, for example. So the way you play the fife is simply by blowing or tonguing a sharp note, a sharp column of air into the blowhole, and then by different combinations of the fingers, you play the notes. The fife has 3 octaves, so it can play fairly low and extremely shrill. And that's why it was popular on the battlefield, because it could be heard for very long distances. The fife had been played on the battlefield since the 14th century when in Switzerland. It fell out of popularity a little while in the 17th century for something they called the hautboy. Today we call it the oboe. And then it came back by the Revolutionary War, which the colonials learned from the British how to play the fife and all the fife tunes. It became, again, very popular in military martial music. So right through the Civil War. In fact, today, the U.S. Army has one battalion that is musicians, the Old Guard Fife and Drum, and they perform at for dignitaries and ceremonies, including the presidential inauguration they'll be performing again. So the U.S. Army still maintains a fife and drum corps. Today I'm wearing a New York State shell jacket. So I often portray a member of the 88th New York, part of the Irish Brigade. And so on my hat is a piece of boxwood, because the battle last weekend before Goldsborough Bridge actually was the Battle of Fredericksburg, and the Irish Brigade had marched up Fredericksburg, across the Rappahannock River into the city, and at that point, after crossing the river, they said, gee, our flags have been sent off to be repaired. So the colonel of the Irish Brigades, Thomas Meyer, said, go get something so I know my troops. So he sent his officers through the town of Fredericksburg. They collected boxwood, and all the Irishmen of the Irish Brigade regiments stuck boxwood in their hat. And that became a tradition of wearing boxwood for the Irish Brigade.
I'm Bobby Richter. I'm a builder with TA Loving Company. I'm a member of the Andrews Battery, a local artillery group that portrays the only artillery group formed in Wayne County. I'm a gunner, and mainly I'm the cook. So I have put together a cook setup, basically from gear and components that I've collected out of antique stores and some that I have built. With me is my little rebel private, Dalton King. He's a prisoner, so he's my camp aide right now. What we have in front of you is basically a setup that would have been, this would have been at least a company or larger size kitchen for a group of Union troops. Very few Confederate groups would have been equipped in this manner. We basically have basic food is what we eat. Salt meat, corn, some desiccated vegetables, beans. Union troops had wheat, so they ate biscuits. Confederate troops did not have wheat, so they mainly ate cornmeal or cornbread. When they were on campaign or in the field, their basic fare was salt pork, basically salted fat, that they would slice up, fry in a pan, take the salt pork and eat it, and in the grease they would take and place a handful or two of cornmeal fried up, and they called that smush, and that's what they ate. They ate rather poorly, and their health showed it. At the campfire we have Dutch ovens. This is basically how they would have prepared their fare. Beans were a well-known meal. Beans with some salt pork in there. And we also have a Dutch oven. This is called a camp Dutch oven, where you heat it from the bottom and the top. And there is a hole in there somewhere. And there we are working on some cornbread, if you can see that. We have a very large Dutch oven here, where you could have done cabbage and sausages, and it's basically just an oven in the field. Coming back to the camp, you see some tables that we made that are patterned after genuine Civil War tables, and the legs fold up so that they could be easily transported. We have a box or two from antique stores. Then again, we have an ivory soap box. Those would have been in Union camps. We have star candles. Those also would have been in Union camps. We have baking soda, which of course is what gave the rise to the Union biscuit. This also would have been in a Union camp. I have a Chase and Sanborn can, and Chase and Sanborn was a very popular coffee maker for the Union. They actually rode around in wood wagons with 100-gallon coffee tanks. And of course, coffee was a very, very big luxury for the Confederates, and after most any or every battle, the Confederate soldiers went out from the lines, if they still controlled the battlefield, and riffled through the haversacks of the Union troops looking for their coffee. Well, we regularly eat sweet potatoes. They cook well in the fire. You just you don't do anything with them. You just throw them in the coals and make sure it's not a roaring fire so that you crisp them. But you can learn the heat of a campfire after a while, and we just throw them in there. I use an old lard tin here, that another antique purchase that I keep our sweet potatoes in, and we also keep various condiments in here. This is salt. It's in a genuine Civil War ginger beer bottle. I carry a little vinegar. That actually helps with cramps. When you get hot on hot days, a little teaspoon of vinegar helps with that. And you can still find these right regularly. Genuine Civil War era knives and forks. There were no spoons. You ate your peas. You ate your peas on your knife, literally. We eat a fair amount of beans. These are pinto beans. This is actually a hand-carved wooden scoop. Yep. Scoop's a good word for that. This is a handmade spatula. Actually, if you ever go to Williamsburg, there's a spatula that they found at Williamsburg that this is patterned after. There's a spatula in there exactly like this, or this is exactly like that, if you want to put it that way. Here we have a dough bowl. This is, if you look at this is handmade, another antique find. You can see the actual adze marks all around it. These are made out of water tupelo, or black gum, from this area of the country. Chunk of lye soap, they would have had this. This one's for looks, I haven't tried it yet.
And I'm sure it wouldn't do much for your complexion. What do you think, Bobby?
At my age, I'm not worried about complexion anymore. We actually have a little pepper grinder, so we have fresh pepper. We eat well here.
Yeah, Bobby, you're actually known for your cooking skills in the campsite. And as I've noticed last night and this morning, there was lines of reenactors that were coming to try your fare. So great job.
See, we'll see how they do with beans and cornbread. That's not quite as exotic as what I've been cooking last night and this morning.
How about the use of ramrods and bayonets in the field on the march with the fair? You know anything on that?
Well, you know, the ramrod, a lot of times the troops, and they were on campaign, they didn't have any of this gear. They had a haversack and that was it. No pot and pan. They had a plate like this. Slightly larger, but it would have been this color. And they had a cup. And they had this, a knife and a fork. This was all the eating gear they had. So they were dispensed salt pork, which is this. A lot of times it was sliced and eaten raw. And their cornmeal was made into a thick dough and wrapped around the end of their ramrod and then baked in the oven because they had no fry pan. So in this or in the fire. Yeah, because they had no frying pan to cook anything with, so they couldn't make their smush without a frying pan.
During the war, there was a coffee shortage, of course, with the blockades and everything. And was it chicory or some of those things were used?
They used acorns, walnuts, chicory. The Confederates had to concoct all sorts of things to make something that they thought was coffee. It was a very highly coveted commodity by the Confederates, but it was pretty common in the Union camps. And the notes are that every time the Union troops stopped, they took every advantage to kindle a little fire and make themselves a cup of coffee for just the rejuvenative effect. We make coffee, if it's just us, you know, we make Mississippi mud. We throw probably 3/4 of a cup of just coffee grounds in the bottom of this pot, fill it up with water, set it in the campfire or close to it, and let it boil. And then take it out, let it set for a minute for the grounds to settle, and then we drink it. The thing you have to remember about these type tinware is you cannot get these hot without liquid in them, or they will just come apart. You can actually see on this one where it got a little hot and some of the solder came out of the joint. This coffee pot here is actually a camp coffee pot. I found this in an antique store also, and it's the first one I'd ever seen. This is actually out of an 1880s logging camp. This one holds a gallon and a half of coffee. So you literally take about 3 cups of coffee, dump it in the bottom of this, fill it up with water, throw it in the campfire, and it has a nice dispensing handle on the back. You can make coffee for about 15 people with this. Hopefully it'll just dump right out of there. Oh yeah, a little crusty on the bottom, nice and golden brown on top.
That's perfect.
What you got done? All right, Dalton, you want some?
Can you tell us a little bit about the march coming from New Bern here? It was during December and it was cold. How did you guys survive that?
We got really lucky. It was really cold. We went to sleep after Kinston and woke up the next morning. Our canteens were frozen solid. We did sleep pretty close to the fires at one point because I actually wound up burning my quilts. And you can't see it because I got my shoes on, but I did get a burn on my foot from the fire. But it's one of the things that comes along with it. If you're going to march and have to go light, then you got to do things to accommodate it.
I have discovered I have 88 letters from my great-grandfather who fought for the 10th Connecticut Infantry. And in reading his letters, I became familiar with his experiences and got to actually kind of know him. And what I wanted to do here is actually see what he saw and try to experience this even further. So that's why I traveled about 500 miles down here to see this. And it's just terrific to meet people who have been involved in this and to see this reenactment, which I've never seen before. I've never seen a Civil War reenactment before. So I'm really looking forward to that. So my great-grandfather did fight in Kinston, and he mentioned his friends that were killed in the battle, and he actually had a 12-page letter that he wrote about the whole Foster's raid. And so he was here in Goldsboro, North Carolina, and did take part in this battle. So it's just terrific to be here, to be able to experience this, and it just takes my level of experience and knowledge that much further.
We want to run out and buy a tent, you know, and a gun.
Well, I don't know about all that.
Well, no, that was fun. That was great. Those folks do a mighty fine job.
They do.
Of reenactment.
And when they have another one, that'll be happening here in our community. We'll make sure we make you aware so you can go see firsthand if you'd like.
And that was only part 1.
That's right.
Part 2 and 3 coming up next week.
That's exactly right.
All right. Well, the Stroke Support Group did not meet in December. They will be meeting February 28th. The Stroke Support Group, if you want to know more about it, call Wayne Memorial Hospital and talk to the rehab department at 731-6005.
And we want to remind you, look for your city, Goldsboro, in this edition of Our State magazine, the January edition.
Oh, yeah.
They came down, some producers came down and spent 3 days here in Goldsboro and visited with us here in the city, and then also visited with Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, and they actually went up in a refueling jet and got to have that experience. And then they did a lot of just spending time on base, getting to know the airmen and what they do and how they work with the 4th Fighter Wing and the 916th work together. And they spoke with the mayor and a lot of people just downtown Goldsboro. So you'll have some great articles, and I think it's called Up in the Air is the article that is in January edition of Our State magazine. Actually, on the front of the magazine is a big bowl of snow cream.
Oh.
And they give you lots of recipes of how to make snow cream. So,
I love snow cream.
There you go. A lot of people do. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Love it. You
Especially
put vanilla,
as a child. Vanilla flavoring, of course.
In yours? Okay.
Do you not?
Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't.
Okay.
Just depends on how I feel.
Well, there's lots of recipes in Our State magazine this month.
Oh, there you go. All right. Now until the end of this month, the new information is available on the Low Income Energy Assistance Program, LIEAP. Don't ask me how to spell it. The LIEAP, the Low Income Energy Assistance Program, is new information available. It's changed. It's different now. If you or someone you know use this program, changes have been made that you need to know about. Now, you can talk to someone at the Department of Social Services, and they can help you with this. But conditions do apply in this particular case. Not everyone is eligible, and if you are in need of energy assistance, talk to someone at the Department of Social Services and ask them about the Low Income Energy Assistance Program and how it's changed.
Wonderful. Was there a number there, a phone number?
There is a number.
Okay.
I don't have it.
Oh, you don't have
but
that
they
number.
have phones.
Well, we also want to make you aware that the Goldsboro Parks and Recreation is holding their second Hillbilly Hike.
Oh, boy.
Which is a 5K obstacle course race.
Yeah.
It's going to be in May. But this year it's going to be a little bit more unique. It is going to benefit 2 North Carolina veterans that are a part of the Homes for Our Troops.
Oh.
Matter of fact, I have recently gotten 2 little video clips of each of these veterans, and it's on the City of Goldsboro's Facebook page right now. And it's just them being interviewed about what happened to them when they were serving, how being a part of the North Carolina Homes for Troops is going to affect their lives, and how the remaking of their home and the changing of their home is going to make it more adaptable for their lifestyle now, because both of these young men are they're quadriplegics, and they have lost 2 legs. Both guys have lost their legs. And it is talking about how changing their home is going to make it easier for them to get around and take showers and cook and clean and be able to actually just take care of themselves. So they're great videos of both these veterans on the City of Goldsboro's Facebook page if you're interested in seeing it. But the Hillbilly Hike is in May. You'll hear more about that. And this year, or this time, it's going to actually take place at Stony Creek Park. The last time it took place at Waynesboro Park. This time it'll take place at Stony Creek Park.
Okay.
More details to come on that.
Okay, are we ready for Scott?
I think we are.
Well, hello. Scott Stevens, Goldsboro City Manager, back for our monthly update. They seem to come quicker and quicker, and I guess that's a good part of our business. We are back from the holidays. I hope all of you enjoyed your time with family and friends. I know many of us here at the city enjoyed that, and I certainly did myself. We worked through the holidays, but now it's time. Our new year started. We're all back, and so we all are all back ready to work, I guess, back to normal hours. A couple exciting things going on in Goldsboro and Wayne County. The first thing I'd like to share is there was an industry announcement very recently with Balfour Betty Rail, an expansion in Goldsboro, 29 new jobs, $1 million in investment, and I think it speaks very well for the economy in Goldsboro and Wayne County. Anytime you have a company that expands, it's a good news for your community. It's better than even a new announcement, because if they already know how to make money here and they're expanding here as opposed to somewhere else, that really speaks well for the local community. So again, kudos to Wayne County and the city of Goldsboro and the community here that supports this industry and their expansion. It is coming with some grant funds from the state, $60,000, and then $30,000 from the city and the county. So we will match that grant, which is required of the state funding. But I think it's a good use, and many of us are not inclined to give incentives. It is still good to provide an expansion in this community, and the incentives do pay for themselves in a very quick manner. I want to mention crime. We've talked about that at most of these, or at least a lot over the last 6 months. We did have 13 homicides in Goldsboro as we closed out the year of 2012, and that's a lot. One's too many, but 13 is a lot for our community, much higher than our average. And I hope that in response you're hearing some of the things we're doing of more community-oriented policing, more visibility, a mobile crime center or crime station office that we're moving around, and a lot more effort to seeing us out in the field. We are making arrests, so we're solving these cases, but we want to do more to prevent them. And we are pursuing a new initiative. We've named it here locally GPAC, or Goldsboro Partners Against Crime. And it really is a three-pronged approach of the law enforcement side doing their part, the criminal justice system side doing their part with moving those that we identify to the front of the list, so it takes very little time to get in front of a judge and get a sentencing and a ruling in a case. But the most important part of that is the community, and we're still working through that community piece and trying to make sure we have all three of those pieces in place. The mayor, council member, chief, our coordinator, Sergeant Chero, and myself and some other community members visited High Point December 18th, because this new initiative talks about bringing these people that are most likely to commit crime into a room and putting them on notice. They call it a call-in. They tell them, we're going to move you to the front of the list for everything if you don't change your ways. And if you'll change your ways, we're here to help. And that's the community piece. How do we help? It doesn't guarantee them anything except we're willing to help them make a change, or we're willing to move them to the front of the line in the judicial system if they're unwilling to change. We witnessed that in High Point. It was a very interesting meeting, and we'll invite you, if you're interested, to attend one of ours in the near future. We hope to host that same type of event here and have that same initiative going on here. The results in High Point have been phenomenal. 90% of those that are called in don't commit another violent crime. 90% of the people most likely to commit crime don't commit another violent crime. That is phenomenal in terms of results, and we are expecting that similar result here in Goldsboro. I do want to say with the Partnership Against Crime, if you will contact Sergeant Teresa Chero in our police department, she would be happy to either involve you or inform you about what we're doing. And her number, 580-4305, 580-4305. I said Christmas, the holidays, and we slowed down. Doesn't mean we didn't work. Just before Christmas, the city and the county were made aware of grants from the states to support military activities and concerns to the military, and in particular Seymour Johnson, that might limit their ability to train. The city did apply for those funds, and we were successful in receiving $125,000 from the state, which we have to match, but to apply towards efforts of concern to Seymour Johnson that relate to their mission. And what we intend to use those funds for: birds at the end of the runway continue to be a huge concern to the aircraft as they take off and come over the city's water reclamation facility and the wetlands in those areas and the equalization basins. And so bird nesting areas are a concern. Part of the funds will be used for that. Another portion of the funds will look at ways to continue support of the military and through our Military Affairs Committee. And again, it requires a local match, but it wasn't a grant that we applied for just ahead of Christmas, and we're notified the week following Christmas, and we are completing our memorandum of understanding with the state and expect to put those funds to use very soon. It does require a local match, And we will ask the county if they'll participate in that. But in either case, it's important that to our community that we protect Seymour Johnson, and I think the city will make sure those funds are spent in a very prudent manner. Talk a little bit about current projects or some current activities. I don't want to get too far into projects with this update. I will let you know our City Council is considering adopting a recreation master plan in January. We've had a lot of public meetings on that. It should be something that if you have an interest in, you're aware of it. If you haven't heard about it before and you want to know, please contact my office and we'll make sure our Parks and Rec Director gets in touch with you. Our Parks and Rec Director is Scott Bernard, but if you'll call my office, 580-4330, we will make sure that we get in touch with you about the master plan and what it holds, and if the council has yet approved it. But we expect that approval to come in January, and it's just an update on what we'll do in our parks in the next 5 to 10 to 20 years. We're also in just different business for us. You'll hear us talking about a city council retreat. We tend to do that on an annual basis, a 2-day event. Right now we've scheduled it for February 13th and 14th. It is certainly open to the public, but it will be different than council meetings. That we'll try to have our new city council talk about what's important to them and sort of their vision for the community over the next 3, 5, 10, 15 years, because some of the things we need to start today to complete in 5 or 10 years, if we don't get started, we won't get there. And so we'll just see where our council wants to go, but a visioning part will be included in our retreat and trying to help our elected officials point us in the direction they see us going. And so I would ask you to share your thoughts for the community with all of us ahead of that so that we can incorporate those thoughts and ideas as we go forward. The final thing I'd like to at least share with you is a little update on Streetscape. That project is one we did complete just ahead of the holidays. I hope you've enjoyed or had a chance to take a look at it. It was in the news most recently, and I just share this because I found it interesting that we have an article that sinkholes discovered near streetscape lights. And the headline itself was a little alarming. The article itself, I think, dismissed it as being a landscape issue, and I would have to agree. What occurred there, not a big deal in terms of where we are or any concerns for the street sinking away. I just want to reassure the community the project is a well-built project. We feel very comfortable with that, and the contractor, who's a local firm, is committed to maintaining it through the warranty period, which has not yet begun and will extend for a year. And small areas of settlement in landscaping is not an unusual or alarming kind of event. So I just want to make sure you're comfortable or hear from us that the sinkholes or the depressions, as I would probably refer to those, really are not a big event. And if they do become that, we certainly would let you know. In moving that project forward, the council agreed to allow us to seek engineering proposals, so we are doing that at this time. I wouldn't expect to have any information back for the council to consider until late January, probably early February. So at their second January meeting or their first meeting in February, I would expect the City Council would be considering, do we move forward with the engineering side of the next 2 blocks and getting what those cost estimates would be and what the design might look like. So that's our next news for Streetscape in terms of moving it forward. Still talking a year or more away from construction if the City Council decides to move forward with that project. And I think for today, that's it. As always, I would thank you for, or encourage you to speak well of the community. It matters. You never know who's listening to you. If we can be of service to you, we are here to serve you, and we look forward to that. Please don't hesitate to call me with questions or comments. You can do it through the website. You can do it through our office. But we'll be happy to respond and look forward to talking with you. And again, we appreciate your interest in us as well. Thanks.
All right, Kim, we're back. That was Scott's always got some great information about what's going on with the city.
Well, I'm glad that he's doing that on a monthly basis now, because I really think it does update the community on what's happening and what the focal points are right now with the city and our city council.
Oh yeah. The Senior Center is the site of a free arthritis exercise class series, and that starts in just a few days. In fact, January 15th, next week, next Tuesday it starts. January 15th, Tuesday and Wednesday, from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m., only 1 hour, free arthritis exercise classes for anyone 60 and older. It's an 8-week program offering gentle, joint-safe exercises developed specifically for people with arthritis. Registration is required. They need to know that you're coming. So call Aaron at 705-1785 or call the Senior Center. But Aaron's number is 705-1785. That's next Tuesday, and they'd like to know that you're coming. It's a 2-day event each week for 8 weeks. Tuesdays, and Wednesdays.
You know, our seniors have so many opportunities now in our community between going to the senior center and the senior house with Parks and Recreation.
Exactly.
They're offering so many classes and so many different things to keep our seniors busy and energetic and keep their minds moving forward. It's amazing between the two places what we have to offer.
It really is. If anyone has any need for any sort of contact or socializing, I'm telling you, both these places are fantastic.
They really are.
I was out at the senior center one day last week, and it's just it was the parking lot was half full. People were busy coming and going. There were people shooting pool. There were people in the reading room. They were playing bingo. There was all kinds of stuff going on. It's an amazing place.
And what a fantastic big kitchen they have
there.
there.
It's enormous.
It is.
And the food's even good.
We really are blessed to have such nice opportunities here in our community.
Let me take just a moment here.
All right.
I have a trivia question for you for
Of
today,
course.
and I'll give you the answer here in just a few minutes. Everyone's familiar with the story of Cinderella.
Of course we are.
Everyone loves Cinderella. And Disney, of course, making the big movie out of it and everything. But that story has been around for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years. In fact, it's been written in many, many, many different languages over a long period of time. And there were some minor changes. Of course, Disney took liberty as well. But the question I have for you is, in what language was the oldest known written version of the Cinderella story? In what language?
Of course, I have to take my guess.
Well, take your guess.
French?
That is a great answer.
But it's wrong.
Very wrong. That is so wrong. But
well, we'll find out later.
We'll find out in just a moment. Okay. All right. Just
All right,
think
let's
about that. And what was
see.
the original? But that would have been. That's a very good guess, by the way.
We're good.
Really
We wanted to remind you that we have the Mayor's Committee for Persons with Disabilities meeting on January the 17th at noon. They'll meet on the second floor of the conference room of the City Hall Annex. If you have questions, you can call Sue Chance at City Hall. She can give you more information on that, but that's the Mayor's Committee for Persons with Disabilities, January 17th at noon.
Got a great big old blood drive coming up. In fact, there's several, but the one in particular I want to tell you about is the first annual blood drive competition between the City of Goldsboro and Wayne County. Wayne County employees and City of Goldsboro employees will be having a blood drive, a competitive blood drive on January 17th. That's next week, next Thursday. At the Red Cross chapter for the city and Clingman Street for the county.
Backwards.
No, backwards. Clingman Street for the city and the Red Cross chapter for the county. I believe that's right. Anyway, regardless, you do need to make an appointment. You need to make an appointment. You can do that by going to redcrossblood.org, redcrossblood.org. And click on Make a Blood Donation Appointment. Or you can call Vicki Hill. Now, Vicki's number is 731-1157. 731-1157 to make an appointment.
Now, Wayne, how are they calculating that? Are they doing it by the amount of blood you give or the amount of people that come? I wonder how that's going to happen.
I'm not really sure. I would have to think. I don't know.
I don't know the answer to that either.
Oh, boy, that hurt. I tried to think. Oh, don't do that. Okay, anyway. Yeah, I don't know. We'll figure that out. Maybe we can get Vicki in here and talk to her about that.
Yeah, that'd be good.
That's next week, though. All right.
Mayor's Youth Council is also going to be meeting on Wednesday, January the 16th at 7 o'clock p.m. in Council Chambers. That is the Goldsboro Youth Council. Wanted to make you aware of that and remind you.
Chinese.
Was that the answer?
Chinese.
Gosh, and I almost said that was my second choice.
Chinese, about 850 A.D., scholars
Really?
believe the fairy tales date back to ancient Greco-Egyptian times and was passed along orally through the centuries, and then finally written in Chinese. The heroine, I can't pronounce the name, wins the prince with the help of a magical golden-eyed fish instead of a fairy godmother.
Interesting.
Of course, that's not saying that your godmother or your mother-in-law is
Watch it.
golden-eyed. Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll be back tomorrow, God willing, the creek don't rise. And there's a story behind that, too.
Oh,
I'll
I'm
tell
sure.
you about that later on.
I'm sure.
Anyway, we'll be back tomorrow. And you can join us every day right here at 7 a.m., Monday through Friday on WGTV, Channel 10 or Channel 99 at 7 a.m. And then the program repeats throughout the day at noon, at 5:30, and then again in the evening.
That's exactly right. If you have things that you would like to share here on WGTV, you can email it to us. We'd be glad to share it on the channel here and make the community aware of other things that are happening right here locally.
You can go to WGTV@waynegov.com or WGTV@waynegov.com.
Yes, you can, and email your events that are happening here, and we'll share it with everyone.
So until tomorrow morning, I'm Wayne Alley.
And I'm Kim Best, and this is what's happening in your community.